Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. Spring is just around the corner. It's already warming up, and that means mosquitoes and termites will be back. If only the coronavirus would take out the mosquitoes and termites would be good. Since it doesn't, call the group that does take them out. That's the folks that take care of my house, Southeast Termite and Pest Control. East Tennessee's own Southeast Termite and Pest Control, locally owned, family owned since 1971. Southeast Termite and Pest Control. All right. There are basketball teams like Dayton who are enjoying a once-in-a-generation type season. There was talk about them, making a Final Four this year. San Diego State's having a great year.
Yeah.
You look at pro sports. There were teams having great years. I am a fan, give you just an example. I'm a fan of an English soccer team that hasn't won the English League in 30 years. They're 2 wins away from winning it, and they just shut down the league. So, and that's a city over there that's going to go crazy because they're not going to be able to celebrate it or win it if it doesn't come back. Teams like that, franchises like that, fan bases like that, just the psychological impact. And as Mark Pancras left, he said, imagine if this had happened before last year's NCAA tournament when Tennessee was, still a beloved team and everybody was gung-ho about them. Your thoughts on just the gut punch, groin kick that this is? Not that they're not doing anything wrong. I think they're doing it right. I think we all agree with that.
Yeah.
But just the gut punch of losing a spectacular season.
That to me is the toughest part of this from a sports perspective, because I especially think of the players. So many players, this is what they do. This is what they've worked so hard to put themselves in position to do for not just this season or even 3 or 4 years, for their whole lives in some cases. And now for some of these players you mentioned, San Diego State, Baylor, some of those types of programs that haven't been in this position a lot, now don't get the chance to play out this season. That's tough to swallow. So I hate it for those fans. I hate it for the players. I hate it for the coaches. It's one of the most unfortunate parts about this from a sports perspective. It means little compared to what we're talking about. But yeah, from a sports standpoint, it's really, really rough.
Yeah, and let's go ahead and let's caveat this whole segment and just put that under the umbrella. Sports only here. I'm not talking about whether it should have been done or anything. Yeah. Sports perspective only.
As a fan, and as you well know, every Sunday at my house, there's a big group of people, cook out, have a little something to drink to watch Vikings game. And that is a big part of my fall, big part of their falls, hopefully, my kids, my whole family. And when that's taken away from you, every individual cheers for their team differently, does different things. But that would be a huge thing for me if all of a sudden my fall Sundays go from, hey, it's what time to go watch the Vikings play to me and my wife watch another movie.
Well, imagine.
Which is fine.
Yeah. But imagine even worse. Let's say Vikings are 15-0 and you're rolling and no joke about them falling apart. That would suck worse than ever if you think you're the one that's is finally going to be the year. Yeah.
It would be absolutely awful.
Well, if the Saints are about to make the Super Bowl, the virus would crop up. I'm aware of that. You talk about the gut punch, and it's a huge gut punch for the athletes, coaches, fans. We visited with Holly Warlick the other day. She was on the 1980 Olympic women's basketball team, along with Pat Summitt as an assistant coach and 2 other Lady Vols, and they canceled them in 1980, the summer games. They had the winter games, but not the summer games. It still bothers her. So it's a long-lasting impact with a lot of them that don't have that chance. You mentioned Dayton, San Diego State. ETSU was 30 wins for the first time ever. It's tough, and I feel for those that are having to go through this, but it's part of life, unfortunately.
Look at Lincoln Memorial, just up the road. Yeah. They were having a great season. And Jimmy, I know we both covered the Masters for the local paper. Bob, this is my favorite time of year. I mean, it really is, because it's leading up to the Masters. You got all the people in the office pools on the NCAA brackets. Then you get to the Monday of the championship game for the men is the Monday of the practice round at the Masters. And now all that's gone, and it's like, I know we have to take these steps from that, but from that perspective, it's really, really tough.
Here's another example. You also think for these good programs, I said it in the tease, if this is December 1st, 1998, Tennessee hasn't won the SEC yet against Mississippi State. There's no guaranteed slot for the national championship yet. They're still number 1, but this hasn't happened yet, and the season gets called. You haven't won a national championship at that point since 1951, so it's been 47 years. Now, at that point, we're all thinking, well, Tennessee's going to be back at some point. You know, after they won it, we all thought, oh, what a run they're going to go on, and then never even came close to the national championship again. But if you had lost that and then gone through what everything else plays the same, but you lost that magic year, and Tennessee fans didn't even have that to go back and hold on to. I mean, imagine just the psychologically. I think that impacts. That's another thing. We're talking about watching sports and favorite sports right now. You know, I think people get more panicked and more anxious when they watch 24 hours of television news because it's just repeating the same thing all over again. It feels like your walls are closing in. Now you don't have sports. You don't have the outlet.
Yeah.
And they're taking off. I mean, I see where the comedians are killing the different talk shows at night and stuff. So I just
Well,
they
and
need sports.
here's something else. You go from sports to watching more TV news. You're sitting around reading the internet. You go from reading about sports to reading about more news about the current. So now you become even more inundated, like you said. But it's now everywhere. Well, you guys got to talk about it on the radio every day.
4
I mean,
hours.
you can't pretend it isn't there.
Yeah.
Well, and I wonder, you know, a network, nobody feels sorry for ESPN. They make more money off subscription rates than any other network out there. But they are so chock full of live sports across their networks.
Oh, yeah.
How are you going to, I mean, I guess they're going to be running a lot of old games. I guess the SEC network is going to be spending a lot of time running old games, which are fun, but it's not the same
Well,
as
it's like
live new
yesterday
action.
on the Golf Channel, I found out Arnold Palmer really was great. You know? I mean,
And here's
for like
something-
3 hours, I found out how great he was, and he really was.
So
So,
this will impact Chuck. What's Las Vegas doing?
well, that's why I mentioned all the office pools. I mean, it's sports across the board. It's huge.
One of my best friends was in Las Vegas. Every year he goes out there for the conference tournaments. He went out there and all the conference tournaments were canceled. And then the sports books started shutting. It was like something out of a movie, just that Las Vegas was pulling the switch. So, do you like that switch pulling sound effect?
Pretty good.
Chuck can bet on Hunter and Zach are playing Madden this
That'll
afternoon.
work.
I'll give you a line.
Don't joke too much about that. He may be out there, but it is a shame that we don't have that outlet. You know, in terms of just watching something new and fresh and taking your mind off this.
Yeah.
A lot of sports fans right now are finding out how big a part of their lives sports has been. I mean, that's one thing a lot of people have said to me is, I didn't realize how much time I spent watching games and reading about sports until it was all taken away. And now what do I do?
Well,
you
even
buy
if you're
stock
not
in
watching,
sports
it's background
movies?
noise.
That's right.
Hopefully, in a few months, it'll be back bigger and better than ever.
I wonder if this will have, and we're going to have plenty of time to talk about this over time. So we don't have time for it here. I'll just throw it out there, and somebody can steal it for radio when you've got hours to kill too. I wonder if this changes the way fans look at things. My guess is no. We were talking yesterday. There's stories out there now. It's like this is going to change the world forever. The way we travel, the way we shop. It's like, no, 9/11 didn't.
No.
The recession didn't.
No.
We just went right back to throwing money. No, it won't. And the answer is probably no, it won't. But I wonder if when it first comes back, are fans going to be a little bit more lenient? Maybe if your team isn't winning that first half, you're not calling for the coach's head in the first half of the first game.
Yeah, when they give up a first down, you don't scream fire the defensive
Maybe it'll take
coordinator.
a series or two before you start calling for heads.
I've even wondered if the economy is not hit too hard by this. Do we see an attendance spike in games once this stuff resumes from people being so excited about having sports back and being able to go to games in
Well, I
person?
think it could also go the other way.
It could.
Because all of a sudden, hey, I don't have to sit here and watch this. I can.
That's
I
what
can
the
go
leagues
do
are
it.
bringing doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know.
That's why
so
they don't
they're
want
gonna
this to be
find
more
out
than a
those
couple
other
months.
Tell you what,
things.
it's a good lead-in. We'll talk about the economic impact of this next on the Sports Source. Come on back.